We got a matchup between the two best teams in the MLB where we've seen a 30-cent movement on the line. We fade in the steam, we ride them with the public. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning. Mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Shock. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm trying to...
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to The Closing Line. My name is Troy Torrance, and I host this show every Tuesday and Thursday here at Puff Sports Radio. And we've been on a hell of a run until Tuesday, which hit me over the head. It was really my first losing day since I've been on this show. First material losing day. There was two in April, or one in April, one in May, but this one, on Tuesday this week, down 5.66 units, which puts us at minus 1.8 units in May. However, in April, we destroyed it. Over 19 units of profit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shows in April, 3 so far in May. Let's make the fourth a beautiful one. We don't have a lot of games, but we have a lot. I have plenty of action to share with you and plenty of information. And I wonder, actually, let me pull up the chat. Let me make sure everything's firing on all cylinders. We got Big, Bill. What's the Sharps doing? MLB, NHL, NBA. We're about to find out, man. I think there's no NBA tonight. Nothing on the NBA card, which is unfortunate because we were kind of running it up, throughout the playoffs here. MLB, we'll talk a lot about it. In the NHL, I'll touch on the action, touch on the market, but I'm not going to have a ton of opinions. I won't be very opinionated like I will be in the MLB today, where I have action on every single game, except the one that I doubt is going to pop off, which is the Red Sox and the Phillies, which is probably going to get laid out. What's up, Jay? Let's get it. Yes, sir. We're about to get it, man. I'm trying to let the people file in as we start this show. And actually, to start this show, let's just start with Ryan Glover. Thank you, bro. Thank you for joining. Sorry about those Rockies today. Rockies first 5. Man, was today a tough day. So we take the five unit loss on Tuesday. Yet last night I destroyed everything. Basically, I went like 7-1. Put 5 units straight back up on the board, and I started today in a massive hole with the Rockies first 5, which I moved on live. Believing in Chase Dollander, I moved on it live. Next thing you know, he didn't even record another out. He got taken out of the game. So I took a massive loss because I did move live. I had a unit on the spread, first 5, a unit on the first 5 money line. And I think that if we had a healthy Chase Dollander for 5 innings, we probably would have won that bet. Fortunately, that's how the cookie's going to crumble sometimes. And hopefully, at the end of the day, it all balances out, right? It's variance. All right, so let's get into what's up, Jimmy. What's going on, man? Let's get that cash. And you're going to have to lead the charge a little bit. I wanted to start with the NHL just to get past it, so I'm not worried about it like I was on Tuesday. And it's not like I'm very opinionated in the NHL. Well, let's start with the Sabres versus the Canadiens. We're looking at 62 on Action Network, 62% of bets, 19% of cash on the Sabres, which is pretty shocking. Per Odds Logic, we got 65% of bets, only 62% of cash on the Sabres. Earlier today, that was looking a lot like it was at Action, where it was 60% bets, 20-ish% of cash, but that started to even out. And I doubt we've seen anything change really in the National Hockey League, because at this point in the day, it's pretty steady, and it is pretty steady there with what I just listed off. You look at the line movement on the side, and let me click over to the NHL real quick. Let's get this up. We're seeing a very flat market. That's exactly what's posted right here in the graphic here. Open at minus 122, currently listed at minus 122. We're not seeing much movement. We have started seeing this this line at 5.5 start to get juiced more towards the under. I mean, it opened 5.5 juice to the over 135. This juice on the NHL is crazy to me. And actually, there's been a ton of line movement on the Ducks Golden Knights game, which we'll get to. So what we're seeing here is that we're seeing sharp action coming in on the Canadiens, and the line's very stagnant. So we're not seeing what movement one way or the other. But if you look at the line functionality, I do think we can make some heads or tails of what we're seeing in the market. Maybe the bookies were kind of understanding where this cash was going to come in, because if you look at game 1 and game 2 with the Sabres at home, they opened at minus 135. Both games they opened at minus 135. One game, in game 1, the line moved towards them, got up to minus 142. They won that game by 2. The second game, they opened 135 again. It got bet down to minus 130. They lost that game by 4. Now we're looking back at the Sabres at home at an opening line of minus 122. That's 13 cents short of where it opened in game 1 and game 2, which to me is a pretty telling adjustment here from the books. And I know that, things change throughout the course of the series, but, we're looking at a very, very tightly contested series. And, I know Jimmy likes the matchup here for the Sabres. I was trying to catch his show for the NHL. I missed the Ducks Golden Knights, got pulled into something else. But I did see him talk about the Sabres and Canadians, which is what's keeping me off of the Canadians in this spot. I do think that line opening short really just sticks out to me like a sore thumb. And I do believe that if I was forced, gun to my head, to take a bet in this game, it's tough. It's tough to say because you got a favorite, you got the gun to your head, you got your guy Jimmy the Bag who's on one side. My raw read on the market would be that the Canadians are the spot in this game. I like Josh Doan for 1 point. Ryan Glover with the goddamn NHL action and a prop nonetheless. I feel like I never hear props from the Pub Sports Radio chat when it comes to NHL. Just took Suzuki for a goal. I thought you were going to say you just took Suzuki for a home run. I'm like, let's go. Let's go. Jerry Davis, Troy, at least Rumpel and Johnson cashed 8 home run at plus 120. How about that? I love the spot too. Denver native. So just the Rockies letting me down. But hey, my Avs came through last night. Yeah, the Rockies. I see you're a Rockies fan. Denver native. Oh, man. That's a tough baseball team. They've been good to me this year, and I've been back in Chase Dollander pretty much every single start. It's been cashing me out. Like I said, I think that if he was healthy for 5 innings, I feel like we would have got that cash. With that said, let's go over to the Ducks and Golden Knights so we can start clicking on all cylinders in the MLB here soon. Ducks, Golden Knights, we're seeing this line open at minus 108, another very stagnant market. Now, I know a lot of these other markets here with this Ducks game. Let's see what Circa did to this line. Circa opened this minus 106 Ducks. It's down to minus 101, so we're starting to see some line movement away from the Ducks. And I'm seeing the same thing here at DraftKings, a very small move actually towards the Ducks. So we're seeing a very mixed signal in the market. Some books moving this towards the Ducks, some moving it towards the Golden Knights. And usually this is a situation that I love. And we're going to be talking about a situation just like this in the MLB where the line is very stagnant. Some books are showing line movement one way. Some are showing the other way. I don't have a market history to lean on here in the NHL, but I will say this. A lot of times that does favor the favorite, which in this case is goddamn near a pick 'em. It makes it really difficult read. And if you look at the line functionality in this spot, you got the Ducks opening here minus 105, just like they did in game 3. And you know what happened in game 3? They lost by 4. They got smacked up in that spot. And now it's hard to make a read because that game in game 3 opened minus 105. It closed minus 102. Very small movement. They got smacked by four goals. And this is a very tricky market to deal with. I'm seeing a lot of public sentiment coming in here on the road team, on the Golden Knights. 65% of bets, 19% of cash is on the Ducks per odds logic. That's shocking to me. Very tricky market, one that I wouldn't want to get involved with. And that's all I got for the NHL. Let's for Troy on a 1-3 seems like a 5-10. Oh, wow. If I could play a game like that every single day, my guy Top Set's in the chat talking about his poker game. He's playing at a 1-3 game, which is usually 3 to 500 max. That's playing like a 2-5. That's an absolute blessing if you're a whale, if you're a shark on the poker table. You want to play the lower stakes if it's going to play bigger. That's exactly where you want to be. People have a false sense of security in those spots. And if you start getting 100, 200 big blinds deep in that type of game, it's a freaking beautiful thing. You won't always win, but when you do, you're going to win a ton. Top Set, good luck out there, man. Every time I read that name, I just picture just lifting up my cards, checking to make sure I got that Top Set that I just seen smack there on the flop. Yo, Top Set, go get him, man. That's going to be a very profitable game. I got the feeling. I got chills right now thinking about it. All right, with that being said, let's go over to the MLB. But before we get into the actual first game, because we have plenty of time here. I mean, we got a 50-minute show here and a lot of time to fill because, we only got 4 MLB games. And like I said earlier, one of the MLB games is about to get postponed. So we might have to just we'll talk about that game. But I want to talk about the first graphic and looking at when the line moves towards the home team. Vic, if you could put it up, this is the graphic I created for this show, just to give you an idea. Every day I come in here and I talk about the MLB. I want to give you guys something to take home that you guys could, maybe print it out on your wall. If you looked at my wall right here in my home office, I just got a bunch of graphics of all the important data points that I want to know. And I switch it out for each season. The NFL is different than what it is in the MLB because the market's changed. The price ranges change. It's very important. But this is something that I think is definitely worth noting. And I think there's a lot to take away from this graphic. So if you're looking at this graphic, we're looking at how efficient markets are when the line is moving towards the home team. Now, why did I isolate towards the home team? It's because when the line moves, so I have 5,622 games in my MLB market efficiency database. Out of those 5,600 games, 5,100 of them saw line movement one way or the other. When we get line movement, the line moves towards the home team in 58% of the sample. That's a massive amount. And that makes sense. That's logic. That's intuitive. It's going to move towards the home team. People, the public betting, want to bet home teams, I'm sure more times than not. So I just want to get across that we are dealing with the most common type of line movement. And I wanted to make a very clear graphic. The line graph from left to right represents the home team's win percentage. The bottom axis represents how big the line movement was. And the most important thing that you could tell here is there's a clear divergence between home favorites and home dogs. For home day favorites, there's a strong correlation between size of move and home team win percentage. You could tell it as the line movement gets bigger from 10 cents to 10 to 19 cents to 20 to 40 cents to 40 cents or more, the home team's win rate goes up. When the home team's a dog, there's a very clear divergence. It actually works inversely. And what does that tell me? What that tells me, and this is actually, I had to pull up, this was so interesting to me that I had to pull up the NFL just to confirm that what we're seeing in the NFL is similar. And I believe it 100% is. For home dogs, the opening line tells us more than the line movement does. Whereas for home favorites, line movement is more prevalent, meaning there's more correlation between the line movement and the result of the game for a home favorite, and it's vice versa for a home dog. So I think that's extremely interesting, something you could take away. And if that's the case, also, that makes me start thinking about it. It also suggests that the bookies are skewing their lines towards the dogs, probably trying to make sure that the sharps can't take advantage of a big plus number. Then they make an adjustment, predicated on the action coming in. But at the same time, that opening line for the dog is prevalent. Now, the next step would be delving deeper and looking at the same data set with other variables layered in, like price range, total range, divisional versus non-divisional, cash flow, which I'm going to bring up. I'm going to tie this directly back into the Cubs-Braves game that we'll talk about here later today. You can pull it down now, Vic. I appreciate it. And with that, we can go. And I actually got another graphic cooked up that we might be able to touch on if you guys want to see it. That's kind of a piggyback off what we learned last show when we were looking at the markets. And maybe I will pull that back up. But for now, let's touch on this game that's probably not going to pop off. Isaac Kelly, down the whole second half slate. Early games were rough today. That Dollander injury was so unlucky. Oh, man, I don't know how it keeps happening. Somehow I've been betting on starting pitchers. I mean, I have almost 2 handfuls, almost 10 occasions where I bet on a starting pitcher, bet on the first 5 where the starting pitcher went down in the first 2 innings. I don't know how it continues to happen. Today I loaded up on the Rockies. I even got a live bet in before he went out. And then, Dollander gets pulled from the game, and the rest is history. But it's all right, brother. It's all right. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're getting very volatile right now with our results. Let's keep it going. Let's flip the script and just nothing but green here to finish the night. Let's talk Red Sox and Phillies, even though I doubt this game. Anybody in chat? Anybody know if this game's going to be popping off? I was looking at it earlier. I doubt this game is actually going to pop off, and that's unfortunate because I do like the market. And I don't know if the market would actually look this way if we're actually going to get a game, because it is a very interesting market. We've seen a flip. We're seeing the Red Sox flip from home dog to home favorite, which probably deserves its own graphic in itself. We're looking at 58% of bets, 77% of cash coming in on the Red Sox per Action Network at the recreational shops. On OddsLogic, 62% of bets, 70% of cash is coming on the Red Sox. We're finally starting to see public sentiment coming in on the Red Sox like it usually is, especially last year when they were actually pretty competitive. From a side standpoint, Phillies opened at -120. -120, we've seen a 6-cent move towards Boston. Now, that 6-cent move only lasted there for about a few hours before it just kept plummeting down and down. And now we've completely seen this flip, and the Red Sox are now showing as a favorite. So we have seen a significant 25-cent move. And it makes me think about the graphic that I just showed you. This was a home dog, but actually they're going to be closing as a home favorite. So this is the nuance to the market that I'm talking about. Now, this is a very rare occasion where we see this flipping, but the home teams that opened in this price range, opened +100, currently listed at they're listed at -105, but this line movement towards them, it has been a pretty profitable thing only when you're looking at non-conference. This line, this market environment in a non-conference setting, the home team is winning 68% of the time. 68%. So, and if you isolate non-conference and you look at in conference, it's a completely different story. And that tells me that the divisional markets, looking at divisional, non-divisional, in conference, on conference, out of conference, certainly matters. And that's why I do it. So let's look at the matchup, because this is the matchup this is the best matchup on the board, because we have our guy Suarez going up against a team that he was on for 10 years. I'm a believer in Suarez. I'm actually a believer in both these starting pitchers. Suarez, 7 starts, 95 whip, 2.77 ERA, 3.45 xERA. He's coming off a terrible start at home where I faded him with I faded Luzardo. I faded Luzardo with Chase Dollander. He has posted a great resume this season that can sit, he has a great resume. I mean, basically Suarez is coming out there. He's giving you 0 earned runs or 4 earned runs. So he's giving you 4 earned runs, 3 games, New York, San Diego, the Yankees, the Padres, and the Astros. All the rest of the games were complete blanks. So pretty dang interesting. 4 blanks, 4 goose eggs, 3 4-run performances. But the underlying numbers show a mixture of positive and negatives. And I actually think that the positives outweigh the negatives in this case. His fastball run value is in the 99th percentile, which is elite. He increases usage of both his sinker and his fastball, which now bring a perfect balance of his overall usage. If you just look at the distribution of his pitch mix, no single pitch is above 30% or below 15%. So it really keeps batters guessing, keeps batters on their heels, and you could literally visibly see it when he's on the mound. A lot of hitters are guessing, and that's why he induces such weak contact. On the other hand, so that was the favorable things. On the other hand, you got the ground ball percentage, which is down significantly year over year. Could be just a blip on the radar through only a handful of starts. His whiff and his K rate is down, but he is inducing very light contact. And the changeup for him has not been nearly as effective as it has been in years past. His fastball has been one of his best pitches, which is interesting too. This is where the mixed signal comes in, because his velo is down almost 2 full miles per hour. That just goes to show you he lost 2 miles an hour on his velo, but he's performing so well. He's inducing such weak contact. That just tells me that, the changes he's made are coming to fruition. Philly versus left-handed pitching is 5th. They're 5th since April 20th. On the full season, they're 21st. But last year, full season, they were 9th. So despite having those big bats in their top of their lineup that are all lefties, it hasn't really hurt them. They've still been able to hit left-handed pitching, which is pretty interesting. And you got Luzardo on the other end, who has been a little bit more volatile. 8 starts, 140 whip, 5.77 ERA, 3.21 xERA. So that's clearly telling me right off the bat, I see that, and I want to know, is regression coming? I mean, I think we have positive regression coming for Luzardo here. Coming off a terrible start at home when I faded him. This is where I faded him with Chase Dollander. Just like Chase let me down today, but he was doing me so well prior to that. But honestly, Luzardo, I'm wondering, is positive regression looming? If you look at his history, he's always outperforming his xERA and his expected numbers. Outside of the Cubs, his resume is extremely weak. He's got the Rockies on there twice, the Marlins, the Giants, the Rangers. I feel like he's had a very weak schedule, which is also pretty concerning, seeing how much he's struggled with the lineups he has seen. He went to Chicago and pitched 4.5 innings, 1-run baseball, gave up 5 hits and 4 walks, almost a 2.0 whip. It wasn't that impressive. So the one lineup that he really did see that was good, not only was there a low total and a great pitching environment, but he gave up a lot of base runners for just 4.2 innings pitched. He made some light changes to his pitch mix to try to increase his tunnel ability. There's not much notable here. His ground ball rates jumped pretty significantly. That's the biggest one, from 42% to 51%. And he's increased his velocity. I feel like he's improved his command, and he has better contact suppression, but we're just not seeing it in the numbers. So I do think ultimately we are going to see some favorable regression for him. And this is surprising. Boston versus left-handed pitching is first since April 20th. Only 181 plate appearances. And again, in that little small sample, there's just massively volatile results. They destroy one left-handed pitcher, they get blanked by the next one. They destroy one left-handed, they get blanked by the next one. But even last season, they were 11th versus left-handed pitching. So if anything, I like their split better versus left-handed pitching. And I was going to move on the Red Sox in this occasion, but knowing that we're going to have a postponement likely, probably if anything, it's going to be a delayed of some nature, and then that's just going to be a coin flip, and it never works out well. So I'm going to be staying off this game, and I don't think it's even going to go. But I thought I would bring up some of those notes on those pitchers because I want to back Suarez. Troy, what's up? What's up, Guillermo? Appreciate you checking in. Let's see who else came in here. Toby Lane, my boy. Feels like Sabres win game 5, Habs win game 6 and 7. Troy. I didn't get a great feel for the NHL slate at all today. Usually I have a stronger opinion on one spot or the next, but I do believe that I think that Jimmy might, hearing his handicap on the game definitely threw me through a loop, because I thought that market was pretty damn favorable for the Canadians. Phillies first versus lefty since coaching change. Wow. Pitchers K's versus Boston 14-2 to the under last 16. Jesus. So, Jermaine, you're telling me that their offense has been so bad, but they're not K'ing. They're not striking out, which all that does is give you plenty of opportunity to take advantage of that K prop. And honestly, it's funny. I think about sports betting and trying to get an advantage on the bookie. Last week, I made the point that if you have a 1% edge, a measly 1% edge, and the bookies knew that you had a 1% edge, you're gone. They're not taking your action no more. Whatever you do have an advantage in, they're going to cut you off. They're going to absolutely cut you off. It just makes me think about how thin these margins are when we're talking about these games. And it makes me think about the player prop market. And I think that that's a great way to make money, but I think it might be a means to an end, because that unit size starts creeping up and you're beating the book, they're going to back you off. They're going to cut you down. They're going to limit you. You're going to open your book one day and you're going to go to make a $200 bet, and it's going to say, oh, $5 max for you, which is interesting. That's why you have to make sure you're on the right books. Some books will take sharper action, but yeah, try to keep, if you do have a big unit, try to split it up. Try to split it up. Even if you're taking a slightly worse price, it's better than getting kicked off the book entirely. All right, let's keep going, man. Let's get to the games that we're going to see pop off today. This is the rest of the slate. I have plenty of action to give out, and I've hammered the rest of this card. So we got the Cubs and the Braves matching up in Atlanta, and we're seeing 73% of bets and 51% of cash on the Braves. And on Odds Logic, 84% of bets, 91% of cash is coming in on the Braves. On the total, because I'm interested in the total in this game, 80% of bets on the under, only 50% of cash on the under. So public on the Braves, public on the under, line moving towards the under, line moving towards the Braves, which is interesting because you have the sharp action on the under, but on the over, the line's moving towards the under. You have the sharp action on the Braves, line's moving towards the Braves. So one spot, it makes sense. The other one, we have a ton of reverse line movement that I'm planning on taking full advantage of. First of all, I wanted to talk about this market and the market history in this spot because I find it to be pretty fascinating. Just, how poorly these teams perform, these moderate to big home favorites, priced between minus 190 and minus 160, minus 200 to minus 150. This is not a price range where home teams are they don't excel. They're unprofitable. And I'll tie that back into the graphic at the end if we do have time, which I think we will. So if we're looking at non-division home teams that open between minus 165 and minus 145, and if you're looking at where this line opened, minus 156, we're talking about a 10-cent price range in each direction, creating a 20-cent total range. The home teams 290 and 226, only 56%. Obviously, you're going to need better than that. You're going to need at least 63% to break even there. If the line moves towards the home team in that sample, 143 and 108, 57%, not very good, still very unprofitable. And if we look at this low total rate, if the total closes between 7.5 or 8, they're only 40 and 39 straight up. That's 51%. We're talking about the average price of minus 180, where these teams are performing more like minus 130s, minus 120s. So home teams have not performed well. And not in any single year. You might think, oh, well, 1 year this might have been created an outlier, but in every single year, the home team has never done better than a 58% on the money line, which is shocking to me. But what about this 30-cent move? Let's talk about that, right? Well, home teams in this price range that experienced a 20 to 30-cent move are just 30 and 30 straight up, 50%. So we look at this opening price range. We look at all the entire sample where we've seen a 20 to 30-cent line move towards the home team. They're 50-50. It's a coin flip. I mean, this is the spot where you can feel comfortable. If you have a handicap that says the Chicago Cubs are the right spot, feel comfortable in moving on that, because there's no evidence in this market history that would suggest the Braves are a plus EV bet in this market environment, which means for me, I can only look towards the Cubs. But again, I don't know if there's a ton of value to be extracted on the side. Relative to the market history, there certainly is, but I am concerned about the Chicago Cubs bullpen, which I'll talk about. But I want to talk about one of my favorite pitchers, who is Ben Brown, who I've talked about for 2 years now. Last year, I looked like a jagoff talking about Ben Brown and how he's got some special stuff and he's going to be great. Well, I looked terrible. That projection was awful last year. Fast forward 365 days, and I'm starting to look more like a genius than like a jagoff. Because Ben Brown, 30 innings pitched, 0.91 whip, 182 ERA, and a 258 xERA. He's coming off his first start of the season at the Texas Rangers. Not very impressive, but 4 innings pitched, 0 hits, no earned runs, only 1 walk. The story is Brown's skills have caught up to and surpassed the raw talent that he does have. The underlying numbers suggest ace-level performance, that it's not just luck. He decreased his usage of the four-seam fastball from 56 to 36%. He added a sinker to take up some of that usage, which is profiling as his best pitch right now. And, of course, he's got the wipeout knuckle curve, which generates a whiff at 42% of the time. And opponent hitters are hitting under $150 on that pitch, and the expected batting average is just 0.201. So he has a dirty knuckle curve to pair with the fastball and to pair with that sinker that he just added. His fastball velo is on both, considering both the sinker and the four seam, up from 95 to 96.5. So we almost have a 2 mile per hour jump, which is a very significant move. His ground ball rates jump from 43% to 54%. And that's thanks to the sinker. That's what the sinker is supposed to do. That movement is supposed to induce ground balls, especially when it's breaking in on a right-handed hitter. So that's a massive tell that, hey, from 43% to 54% on ground ball, that's impressive. And his walk rate last season, 25%. This year, 7.5%. The command and control revolution has happened. The pitch mix has been refined. He's managing contact supremely. But then again, he's up against Atlanta, who versus right-handed pitching is number 1 in the MLB. And Ben Brown is still unproven as a starter. He's proven that he's able to get outs in the MLB and to look fantastic in a short spurt of 1 to 3 innings. But can he go 5-6 innings against a team the likes of the Atlanta Braves and pitch a post-quality start? Because if you remember last year, a lot of his innings that he ate were as a starter, and he struggled. So I thought that might come back against the Rangers. Certainly didn't, because he went out there and pitched great. And I wanted to see him back out there. I understand why they didn't put him back out there, but I do think that Ben Brown has something cooking. I see the underlying numbers. I see the changes he's made to his, everything from the pitch mix to the degree of his release. Things have changed, and I could see him finding success. GLB Bet says Braves are 7-0 to the under following a game where they were an underdog. It's great news for me, and I'm going to get to why here in a second. Lots of trends to both the over and under. Tough call. I do have some trends that I'm going to talk about here towards the under. Braves and under sale to record a win. Troy, every Cubs hitter except Horner is plus 120 or higher for a 1.5, 8 hits, runs, and RBIs. Books tell Cubs will not touch sale. And I know I definitely agree with that sentiment. And if you look at what happened with the first 5 and first 3 total, we've seen that exact sentiment Jerry Davis is talking about in chat come to fruition. AM saying over, over, over. Jerry Davis Laboratory, I always wanted a big unit rolling the floor 11. Yeah. A big unit. I don't know what you're talking about there. Is that a sexual innuendo? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about, Jerry Davis? All right, let's talk Chris Sale. I don't know how much breakdown we need to talk about Chris Sale. I mean, he's obvious elite. There's no need for a deep dive on a guy like this. He's got a .88 whip, 2.20 ERA, 3.07 xERA. He's at top of the MLB in fastball, breaking, and off-speed run values. So whatever pitch he's throwing, you know it's a goddamn good one. We faded him successfully in his last outing, and it's really hard to go back to the well knowing that the Cubs offense is in such bad form. But you'll look at me and you'll say, well, look at versus left-handed pitching. They've been great. Versus left-handed pitching, they're third since April 20th, first on the season. The last two left-handed pitchers they've seen Abbott and Robleski, who blanked them for 0 runs. Now, Abbott, what we've seen was terrible offense, and they looked bad. They looked like they were regressing. That was their very last game, which is not a good sign. And that's what I think is leading me into this stronger take on this under. At versus Robleski, they were starting to get to him a little bit. They generated 9 base runners versus Robleski, couldn't manufacture runs. I think that was more of just luck variance, whereas the last start against Abbott, the last left-handed pitcher they seen, looked very real. They were struggling. And if you know the Cubs offense, they did this last year too. They did this in the beginning of the season where they just go into these ruts, and every team does. Every team goes into the ruts. The offensive, where their offense just falls off the charts or it explodes. Either way, you're going to see that from every single baseball team. Now, some last longer than others. And that's where I got back to the logic of in the MLB, in the NFL, we want to buy high and sell low. I mean, the season is so short. Every game represents a huge percentage of their total season. Whereas in the MLB, it's not the same. So these trends last longer. I feel like the streaks last longer, which means you want to be trying to avoid trying to catch a falling knife, which would you be trying to do if you're betting the over in this spot? For me personally, I'm isolating the first 3 innings and the first 5 innings, knowing that Ben Brown's probably going to be on a short leash, and I don't fully trust this Cubs bullpen in their current state. So I isolated the first 3 under. I moved on the first 3 under 2.5 at -135 for a half unit. I moved on the Braves first 3 under 0.5 runs at +135 for a half unit. So those two kind of net out. I'm kind of playing it. And then I also added the Cubs first 5, and I split it between the run line and the money line, thinking that, both of them are plus money. Yeah, I want to back Ben Brown. Maybe the Cubs do get 1 or 2 off Chris Sale. And if they do get 1 or 2 off Chris Sale, I think that's going to be enough. I think that the market history is suggestive that the Cubs are the right side. I mean, you're going to win more money in the long run by betting the Cubs in this type of market environment. We're talking about that market history I was alluding to was 200 to 100 to 250 game samples. We have a ton of history in this price range and with this market environment. I do think the Cubs are the right side, but I do think that this game goes under, and I think that the first 5 and first 3 unders are the safest way to play it based on the matchup. And that's the way I'm playing it. Now, I do know that this first 3 line has moved significantly, and we're talking the difference between -135, which is you need to win 57, 58% to break even, versus a -150. You need 60% to break even. There's that 2% I'm talking about. 2% is massive. Now, I know line movement doesn't mean everything. I mean, CLV doesn't mean everything. Look what happened with the Rockies. I had 20 cents, 25 cents of CLV. Got crushed. Looked like a jag-off. So it's going to happen, but I do think that the under is the way to play this game. Troy, Cubs 29th in WRC plus against left-handed pitching the last 14 days also. Yes. Yeah, the more I talk about that game, the more I want to add to my position on the under, because I do think that I also think the Braves are due for regression. I mean, they really haven't hit their rut yet. There's no way they're going to be smashing baseballs like they have been all season long for the entire season. It's just not going to happen. So that also would lead me towards a bet on the Cubs. But like I said, it's hard to catch a falling knife. I want to back Ben Brown instead of catching the falling knife full game, because I do think Ben Brown is potentially elite. And with that said, let's keep running. Let's keep running to the White Sox and the Royals. And I have a mouthful. I have an absolute mouthful on this game. And I've come full circle on this game, which so has the market. Let's see what's going on here. All right, we look at this market, 45% of bets, 43% of cash on the White Sox. We look at odds logic, 80% of bets, 75% of cash is on the Royals. Let's see if that stays true, because that seems like too much for this price range. No, 75% of the bets, 81% of cash is on the Royals. We also see 78% of bets, 89% of cash on the under, and that makes me not trust what I'm seeing with the cash flow on the under. I already don't trust the cash flow on the under per Action Network. On odds logic, it seems to be better, but still, I look at a game like this. I know a lot of people personally, especially being in Chicago, they want to bet the overs in these White Sox games. I know the public sentiment in the industry mostly is betting the over. So a lot of over bettors out there to see all this cash coming in on the under. It just doesn't make sense. And if you look at the line movement on the total, I mean, this total has been plummeting. Let's see if this is stood true. It's down to a 7.5. It shows 8 on the graph from 8.5 down to 8. No, it's actually dipped a little bit lower down to 7.5. And that makes sense, because here in Chicago, it's a great pitching. It's great pitching weather. You're not going to be sweaty. You're going to have a great grip on the baseball. It's not very good hitting weather. The wind's going to be blowing into their face, and you're going to have the wind blowing into their face, and you're going to have a pitcher that has a better grip on the baseball, probably throwing faster and throwing pitches that break harder. And you have the bookies who are aligning with that sentiment on the under. Now, we also have seen a line that's very stagnant. Now, there's some intricacies to this market. White Sox open plus 113. You're seeing plus 114. I'm seeing most books pretty stagnant. Ultimately, this line is staying in between a 10-cent range. We've seen 5-10 cents moving towards the White Sox. We've seen 5-10 cent movement towards the Royals. Most of the sharper shops that I respect have moved this towards the Royals, but at the same time, my public gauge in my database, where I use one of the most influential books, I'm seeing this as a stagnant line. So when I go ahead and I look at what happens in a very stagnant market, in this market environment, right, the move to the under is dominant, is king, and it's disastrous for home dogs. When a home team opens and closes between plus 105 and plus 120, you see they open plus 113, take 7 cents on both sides of the range. I'm trying to get a big enough sample. And you parlay that opening range with the market move and closing range with the market move towards the under, the road team is 46-28 straight up, 62%, with a 44-25 record to the under. So 62% and 64% to the under. 62% on the side, 64% on the under. Now, if we take it a level deeper and we say, okay, what happens when the market's in division with this small, little tricky market? Well, the road team is 13-4 straight up, 76%, and the under is 11-4 in that sample, 73%. The White Sox in this market type, terrible, 0-4 straight up, and in the sample. And the Royals actually, the Royals don't have any examples of them moving towards the under, so maybe that's an outlier. And both of the games from the Royals sample are from 2023, which is a different baseball team. So I'll go ahead and omit that. I don't think it's very prevalent. So I love the market. I love the market for the under. I love the market for the Royals side. Does the matchup agree? And I think we see a matchup that absolutely agrees. I'm going to start with Anthony K here, who through 6 starts has a 1.57 whip, a 4.89 ERA, and a 6.68 xERA. So he's already performing below average. And the bookies, or the underlying numbers are telling us, oh, he's been below average. No, he should be terrible. Should be even worse than that. And this is 6 starts. He has a pretty big sample starting to build here. I was waiting on regression to come, and it did temporarily, because his last 2 starts, 10 innings pitched, 10 hits, 2 earned runs against Seattle and San Diego. So take that for what it is. I mean, neither of those 2 offenses are especially the Padres offense has been awful, to say the least. But the 2 starts before that, 8 innings pitched, 12 hits, 12 earned runs. I think that's going to be a very common theme where we're going to see polarized performances from K. He has the ability to pitch very well. He has the ability to get absolutely blown up, the propensity to get blown up, if you will. But I do think that he's going to be vulnerable in this matchup. I don't think he's very good when you start digging into the numbers. His K rate is 20% below league average. His barrel rate is 20% above league average. He doesn't get a ton of ground balls. He's terrible versus right-handed hitters. 343 opponents batting average, 1.029 OPS, over 1,000 OPS, and a 211 whip. And we know the Royals have the ability to stack their lineup with right-handed hitters, and not just stack with right-handed hitters, with the most important pieces of their lineup are right-handed hitters. Royals versus right-handed pitching are 5th since April 20th, but 26th on the road versus right-handed pitching in that same time frame. They're 18th on the season. I do think the Royals offense is better than the 26th on the road we've seen. And I don't think they're quite as good as the 5th, but they're probably above league average, I would say. Slightly above league average in terms of an offense. And I feel like the Royals have a significant bullpen advantage in this game. The White Sox bullpen is taxed. Sir Anthony went 2 of the last 3. So if they are winning, which I don't think they will be, he won't be coming into the game. And I don't think that that's very well priced into this game either. Like if it weren't for the market history, like this is a Royal spot all the way. I see the matchup align with the market. I see situationally the Royals just got beat 2 games in a row. They're going to get swept by the Chicago White Sox with Bubic on the mound, who I think has a massive starting pitching advantage because he's been lights out this season for Chicago White Sox. He's seen him 1 time already, 7 innings, 2 hits, 0 earned runs. He has great numbers against this lineup. We backed him against Detroit. He got us a win, although he didn't look very good. His off-speed run value is in the 99th percentile. His changeup is dirty because his reverse splits. If you look at his reverse splits, that's how I know his changeup is dirty. Without even looking at anything about that pitch in particular, I see how much he throws it to right-handed hitters. I see how great he's been versus right-handed hitters. He's significantly better versus right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters. Versus righties, 187 opponent batting average, 588 OPS, 1.09 WHIP. But the White Sox have been top 5 versus left-handed pitching. But I think that's kind of offset by these reverse splits. And I do think that this top 5 White Sox lineup, they're good. They're much better. They're not in the basement of the MLB anymore, but they're certainly not top 5 offense. I don't care what pitching, what handedness the pitching is. So I moved on this under 8.5 minus 115. I got the 8.5 minus 115. The 8.5s are gone. And that's what sucks about doing this show. So just right before these games pop off, there is an 8. There's a rogue 8 in the market. You can look at Bet365 and get that rogue 8. I definitely recommend it. But I also moved on the Royals money line. I moved on the Royals money line minus 130. And I moved on the White Sox team total under 3.5 at minus 110. So I've absolutely hammered this spot. Love this spot for the Royals. Love the spot for the under. I specifically want to back Bubic more than the White Sox pitching staff. So you can play it anyway. I recommend a bet on the Royals and or the White Sox team total under. I think both of them are worth playing. Now, can we say Bubic and or K good left-handed pitchers? I think Bubic, we could say he's a good left-handed pitcher. I mean, he's got a 3.98 xERA that's been incrementally dropping. If you remember the last time I talked about Bubic on stream, he had a lower ERA. I think his ERA was like a 2.98 with just under a 5 xERA. Well, over his last 2 or 3 starts, even though he gave up runs against Detroit and got us the win, his xERA dropped and it's down to a 3.98, and that's actually pretty impressive to me. And I see the reasons why he's having so much success is because lineups stack righties in their lineup against him, and he's got that changeup he can lean on. Royals are 0-6 in the last game against a divisional opponent. GLB bets, see, that's where I would look at that 0-6 first against a divisional opponent. And I would say that's definitely going to have to come back to earth here very soon, because that's a team-specific market you're talking about. That's every single game. So the last 6 times they played against a divisional opponent, they lost. I expect that to regress here today. And I think this is a great market to take advantage of it. And Anthony K is a fade-worthy pitcher. You want to fade this man. Anybody else in here talking about this game? AM's, yeah, that over was for the last game. All right, that gives us that. Yeah, so the White Sox, this is my favorite bets are in this game. I got the under 8.5. I got the Royals money line, and I got the White Sox team total under 3.5. And I feel pretty confident in those spots. All right, Dodgers Giants, another great game, and this was the last bet I just recently made. Sox 7-1 last 8 at home. Tread lightly. So we have the Dodgers and the Giants. No surprise here. On the recreational books, we're seeing all the action coming on the Dodgers, all the bets and cash. On Odds Logic, we're seeing the sharp action coming on the Giants. Only 73% of bets and only 58% of cash is on the Dodgers. And we are seeing a lot of sentiment on the under as well. And how could you blame anybody wanting to back the under in this spot? Let's see if this line has moved from what's currently listed. And it's pretty much flat. I mean, What we're seeing in this game is very similar to the White Sox game. When you see the market toggling in between 10 cents, right? 10 cents one way, 10 cents the other way. And that's what we're seeing in this game. This line is moving towards the Dodgers 5-6 cents, then it's moving towards the Giants 5 or 6 cents, then it's back to where it's opened. And right now it's right back to where it opened. Based on the book I would be logging as an entry into my database. So if we look at in division, when home teams open between minus 190, minus 160, we got a bigger price, so we need a bigger range to account for that. Minus 190 to minus 160 with less than a 10-cent move and a total between 7.5 and 8. The home team is 50-50 straight up, but 64% to the under. 64% to the under. Even if you want to flip it from opening line to closing line, which you could reasonably do and argue that that's the right thing to do. The home team in that case is 49% straight up, and it's 64% again to the under. So we're seeing a very clear market history signal and progression that would say the under is the right way to play this game. And that's exactly what I did, because I love this pitching matchup between Roop and Sheehan. Two pitchers I believe in. Let's start with Roop. 8 starts, 1.1 whip, 309 ERA, 254 xERA. He's only struggled in 2 of his 8 starts. So 2 out of 8 is pretty damn good. He's posted quality starts. All of his underlying metrics and numbers show improvement year over year. He's increased his velocity on his sinker, which is very important for his overall mix. He's improved his ground ball rate. He's top 2% in hard hit rate allowed. His K rate's up from 21 to 29%. It's pretty clear that teams are struggling to put the barrel to the ball when they're playing Roop. And against LAD earlier this season, Brandon Roop went 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run. And you can look at me and say, hey, they're going to be pissed off about that. And that's totally reasonable position to take. They're going to be pissed off about that, right? This Dodgers offense and Dodgers team is too proud and too good to let Roop go out there and do that again. Well, I keep wanting to imagine that to be true, because if you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers first right-handed pitching, they're second on the season. You're like, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna get to this guy. But since April 20th, I mean, they're 19th. And if you look at this offense, man, they're not taking advantage of the mistakes the opposing pitchers are making. They're swinging at pitches outside of the zone. They're making weak contact. There's clearly something wrong with the Dodgers offense at the moment. They're just in that slump that we talked about with the Chicago Cubs that's happening to the Los Angeles Dodgers at the moment too. So I think Roop is lined up to pitch well. And I think this stagnant market would suggest that that's absolutely true. And if we look at the difference, the discrepancy between first 5 and full game, it's about a 15-cent. It's about a 15-cent discrepancy between first 5 and full game. Let's see if this line has moved towards the Giants. No, it really hasn't. It really hasn't. It's a pretty stagnant line through and through. Just the split of 15 cents between first 5 and full game, and that makes sense. I wouldn't expect that line to be moving towards them in the first 5, and that's because Sheehan's on the other side of the equation, and he's a pitcher I believe in. I do think he needs another pitch, but through 7 starts, a 135 whip, a 4.14 xERA. We backed him in his last start against Atlanta. We got the win. He has amazing numbers for this Giants lineup. 34 at bats only, but a .88 batting average and a 250 OPS. And he's really just throwing 2 pitches, which is kind of my problem, because there's not a lot of complexity. A lot of guys guessing. He's not keeping offenses guessing. He's just trying to overwhelm them with 2 great pitches, which is his fastball and the slider. But honestly, I shouldn't say 2 great pitches, because the slider's great. The slider's wicked. The fastball profiles is the worst offering by a wide margin. But he needs it. Everybody needs their fastball. But can you throw the slider for a strike? What I love about his slider is he could throw it for a strike. If he wanted to miss outside the zone, it seems like his command on his slider is perfect. He could throw it for a strike. He could keep it just outside of the zone, or he could bury it in the dirt and try to get a batter to chase on a 0-2 count. He has that entire range, and I feel like he's totally in control when I'm watching him throw that slider. But due to that dependency on the slider, he struggles versus left-handed hitters. That's why I love DeGrom, is because he could throw the slider to left-handed hitters and dominate. That's not the case with most left-handed pitchers. I would say with 99% of left-handed pitchers, and that's the case here with Sheehan. The problem with that is the Giants don't have left-handed hitters to take advantage of it. Sure, they have 3 guys at the top of the lineup with Jung-Hoo Lee, with Devers, and with Arias. But if I look at those 3 guys, yeah, I think Jung-Hoo Lee is good, but he's just underperforming at the moment. Obviously, Arias is the legitimate piece there. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. But Devers, this guy's a bum, in my opinion. I think Devers is a bum. I think he's the type that like Sheehan is going to be able to shut this Giants lineup down. For his right-handed pitching since the April 20th or 22nd or 27th on the season, the San Francisco Giant lineup leaves a lot to be desired, and I think that Sheehan's going to absolutely mow him down today. I think both pitchers are going to pitch a good start, and I can only look towards the Dodgers in this matchup because I do think they're going to get back on track. The market is definitely not saying that that's the right play, but I just can't back this Dodgers team. No, we don't have a market. I would never be backing the Dodgers here because we don't have a market to support it, and there's no way I'd be going up against this type of market at the moment. So the only thing I'm left to do is to move on this first 5 under. I moved on the first 5 under minus 120 under 4.5. And I'll be definitely interested and locked and loaded, ready to go if I have to move live on this total going to the under, because I do think it's going to go under. 7.5s are popping in this game also. Shit, man. The first thing I think of when I read Jerry Davis's comment is, man, am I going to be in a bad situation here? Because sometimes it's just those days, like today, I have CLV on every bet I made, and it's just been a disaster, mainly because of the Rockies. But yeah, it's just some of those days where just everything, you just see them have CLV out the ass and everything's going right. Those are the days I feel like I'm most vulnerable. Those are the days I think I'm most vulnerable. With that said, I mean, I guess I can cover, since we have 10 minutes here, I guess we might as well do it. Vic, you throw up the graphic that I showed on Tuesday. Just real quick, just want to touch on that before showing the next layer of that. So now, do you have the other one, the one we did on Tuesday? Because I wanted to touch on that first to show exactly why.
Hey, Troy, no, sorry, I don't have that one. The graphics get cleared out after each show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're good. No problem, Vic. I appreciate you chiming in.
Of course.
Yeah, I didn't resend it. That's my fault. Yeah, but I guess that'll be the first thing I touch on next week, because I definitely had something to call out as it relates to today's matchup. And it's specifically targeting this price range that we're targeting the Atlanta Braves here. And I wanted to use the graphic to show exactly just how bad they've performed. If there's any price range that has the worst ROI since 2023, it's the between minus 199 and minus 150 price range. You've been donating money. If you're betting those blindly, I mean, you're down hellas, and you're losing money in every price range. And that's where, here, pull up the graphic. Pull up that graphic you just had up there. This is important. This is important. At least I could show this. And what you're looking at here is you're looking at what's the home favorite team's money line by price tier and total range. So you can see the x-axis, the bottom axis is the total range. Each different color of the bar represents the home team's money line percentage in that range. And what I wanted to say is, look at the purple bar, right? Favorites of minus 200 or more, 68%, 71%, 68%, 75%. That's the best performing group from an EV standpoint, from an ROI standpoint. And the problem is, even at 68% in two of those ranges, you're losing money, because the average line in that price range is minus 240, which means the break even 71%. So that's actually pretty damn crazy to see. So that means the purple bar nets out to a loss if you're just betting it blindly. The minus 199 to minus 150, the break even average in that group is 63%, meaning the average price is minus 170. And you can see 63%, they don't even touch it. And then down to the last section there, minus 149 to minus 110, the blue bar, minus 127, the break even's 56%. The break even's 56% on that group. The average line is minus 127. So you can see that this is where this is where the bookies get you. It's because you're laying juice, you're paying a tax, you're paying a price to make your bets, and that's where their edge comes into play. And we have to level the playing field with quality information, with sound logic, and the more the merrier. The more. That's why I love this chat, and that's why I love Pub Sports Radios, because we attack these slates together. And you get to hear different opinions. You get to see different, through different optics, through a different lens of what people are looking at. You get to really start to create a full picture of the market. But yeah, you can pull that down now, Vic. I appreciate that, man. And we got 5 minutes. I did my best with the time I had, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's going to wrap it up today with the closing line. on May 14th, 2026. Thank you. I appreciate everybody in chat for showing love, stopping by, showing me support, showing Plus Sports Radio support. I really appreciate you boys. Jerry Davis, Jermaine, Old E, my boy checking in at the last second. I much appreciate you. 2 Cent, didn't see you chime in. I appreciate you, man. Nuke Worker, thank you. AM, Ben Brown gets smoked today. Oh, geez, AM. Come on. Under, AM. It's under in that game for sure. Toby Lane, thank you very much. Isaac Kelly, I don't know if you're still listening. I appreciate you. Top set. Good luck. He's loving that 1-3 game that's playing like a 2-5. He's loving it. My name's Troy Torrance, man. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern to represent Pub Sports Radio. My guy, Peter Loshak's here every other day of the week to bring the goods. And like I say every single week, every single time I'm on this show, my ass has been parked in this seat since 5 a.m. sharp, looking for an edge. Now it's time to watch our hard work pay off. Good capping, good luck, and I'll see your ass next Tuesday.
It's easier to sleep in the black when you're losing your ass and feeling so. You know what to do. Tune in to Pub Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride. You're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem. Keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter. These shows have our backs. POD's always rolling, especially the stats. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Debbie and the fam. Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button. Don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.